Hi, everyone. Welcome to our PMA Academy series. I know it's been a couple years, but we're so excited to be back. And if we haven't met yet, my name is Lisa Dene. I'm the community manager here at the PMA. And this is Angela Sheik to my right. Hopefully, she's on my right to you. She is our new operations coordinator. I'm so excited to have her with me. And today we have a webinar with Marina Garza and Sylvia Riga at TagTeam Analysis on AI music tagging. So, a little bit about them before we get started. Marina Garza is the founder and lead analyst and has been working with production music libraries for over 15 years. Her previous employment as a music analyst for Pandora Media and working with the Music Genome Project has helped her master a deep understanding of descriptive music analysis. And Sylvia has spent the last 10 years as technical lead and data analysis and advisor for a variety of top performing production music libraries in Hollywood and beyond. Her experience ranges from global royalty collection, large scale data management, and company operations, strategic metadata, QC and curation, and full stack web app development. She also is the lead developer and product strategist at TagTeam Analysis. But thank you guys for joining, and I'm going to move it along to Marina, who's on my left.
All right,
And
I'm going to share my screen with everyone. All right, so I just want to say thank you to everyone who has showed up and who's interested in understanding more about AI music tagging, how we can do human quality control with it, and make our discovery a little more smarter now that we have an even more of a competitive edge on how we tag. Um, so I'm going to start here beyond AI tags, how human context improves music discovery. This webinar explores how hybrid AI and human music tagging workflows help production music libraries protect creative intent, improve search accuracy, and increase licensing success. This webinar also provides the opportunity for music library owners and inquiring PMA members to discuss the impact of AI tags and give feedback based on their experience using AI tags from different platforms. So some key takeaways today that we'll be talking about the AI adoption cycle, the age of LLMs and AI metadata, identifying where AI tagging is reliable and where it needs correction, improving your mood, style, genre, and instrument accuracy for sync searches, and integrating human QC with AI tagging with TuneTagger, our tagging platform that we work with. We'll start with Sylvia.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm Sylvia. So Marina and I have been working together for over 10 years at this point. And while music search metadata is certainly a niche in our industry and something Marina and I have spent a lot of time thinking about, um, AI and LLMs, we're sort of fortunate now, are like sort of a common household topic to be thinking about and wondering about, especially in our industry right now. Um, and so there's sort of a nice analogy, since Marina and I have been around this AI technology for a while. We've started to notice, and we can probably all relate, with LLMs, sort of been a very recognizable adoption cycle, which, if we'll all recall, when ChatGPT and some of these early AI products came out, there was a lot of rapid, reckless early adoption, which we see as phase one in sort of this adoption cycle. ChatGPT was, doing everyone's homework if you were a student, or drafting a bunch of slop for there's a lot of very early excitement. Sora was the thing that was going to take over Hollywood and um, you know put everyone out of a job. And Suno and Udio, the music generation platforms, had a lot of excitement. There's a lot of buzz for these things when they first come out because they are exciting and transformative technologies, certainly powerful. Phase two, of course, comes immediately after, where becomes very clear that there is, you know, some shakiness to some of these products. They don't have meet up on all the promises. There are things like hallucinations, something we've all, I'm sure, encountered at this point, stuff that's just wrong, that's just inherent to the technology. Um, some of the quality of the material that gets generated is very low quality, or just very samey, very weighted averagey. It starts to become, as we actually use the technologies, it becomes clear that there are limitations, and especially the last part, lack of market support. Like a lot of times there are big promises about what these things will be able to do, the kind of markets that, and they're certainly disruptive, but it starts to shake out eventually. And phase three, I think, is where we are now, which is we start to acknowledge the strengths of these technologies because they certainly are powerful, and they get integrated into actually useful tools for people in industries. Claude Code is a great example. I'm a coder. I learned to code before AI coding was even a thing. Claude Code is hugely powerful. Instead of having to search for Google for specific CSS rules or to know the exact thing, it's nice having essentially a superpowered search engine to help out with some of these things. Same with Adobe Generative Fill, trained on ethically sourced data sets. It's industry standard as far as I understand now to see that kind of stuff around because it is highly useful and it's integrated into human workflows. Same with stem extraction is another one. So Marina, if you want to go to the next slide too. Um, we're not here to talk about LLMs though. We're here to talk about AI generated metadata. And as I said, Marina and I have been working in this field for over 10 years. So we actually in this industry got hit by the AI thing before LLMs even existed. So we saw just there back then, it was still just called machine learning, but before long, it was known as AI tags. And for sort of the same reason, we were just recounting, maybe it was 6 years ago or so, there was a similar phase one where it was like all of a sudden cheap and accessible to add AI tags to your whole library. And descriptive metadata, tag team analysis has always been the human tagging metadata company. We've always had human analysts listening to tracks and tagging. That takes time and effort and is the best you can get. But for a lot of people, especially with larger libraries, it was very tempting to add cheap AI generated tags for pennies on the dollar compared to what it would cost to pay a human. So there's naturally a lot of potential there and a lot of excitement. Same thing, rapid, reckless early adoption, which is immediately followed by phase two, which is certainly flaws. There are certain categories that machine learning or AI tags still haven't mastered. Like we'll go in depth into that in a second, but like instrument tags, for example, are a really good one of a lot of these companies, especially uh, yeah, they still haven't mastered really truly in-depth listening on, or the machine learning algorithms don't know how to listen for very specific instruments or very niche instruments where there might not be a lot of training data on it, or it's just two specific things. Same thing with new trends come around all the time. A lot of these AI music tagging companies have some amount of seed funding they get to pay their researchers to train a model that uh, knows how to read certain trends and things like that. If a new trend comes along, they're not necessarily going to retrain a brand new model to understand or update. That might not be in their business plan. So these are sort of a lot of these models are sort of a snapshot in time, which makes them very inflexible for ongoing trends and things like that. There's also the problem of tags coming out being overly average or samey. Um, Essentially, which can be a liability in your catalog, especially as more and more people use the same models. There's nothing differentiating your tracks from other people's tracks. Nothing really diving into the specifics of what makes your catalog special or would make it rise to the top for specific searches. So we see ourselves, and we have, unlike LLMs, which are still, toppling markets as we speak. We've been in phase three, Marina and I, for many years as we saw this coming, as we lost clients who decided they didn't want to have to pay for human metadata. They figured the AI stuff would come be good enough, and before long, it became clear the true path forward is some sort of integration of the both because it's very powerful, very fast, cost effective. It just needs to be integrated into useful tools. And we'll be going into that today.
Okay.
Um,
All right. And so I'll take it from here. We're going to talk about AI tagging, its reliability, and where it needs correction. It's safe to say AI performs well with tempo and energy level and rhythmic characteristics. It can detect speed, whether something is slow or mid-tempo or fast. Another area where AI tagging works well is in general mood detection, with some of the broader mood categories like dark or tense or uplifting. Also, baseline tagging. So when we think about AI tagging, it's helpful to think of it as a first pass descriptive layer. It's the strong foundation that gets a catalog most of the way there. Also, where an AI needs refinement. Where eye tagging tends to struggle is when we move beyond sound characteristics and into context, nuance, and storytelling. Limited mood and tags, style tags. AI can identify that a piece of music is emotional or reflective, but it may not recognize the specific scene function of that music. So, for example, it may not identify styles such as regret or reminiscence or overcoming because those distinctions are subtle but extremely important for search. Genre overgeneralization. Another common issue involves overly broad genre labeling. AI may tag a track as electronic or score, but when in reality the piece might fall into a more specific subgenre that would make it easier to find in a search. For example, a track might have orchestral hybrid elements or other types of subgenre fused that AI might not detect. Instrumentation specificity. For example, AI might identify strings, but it may not necessarily distinguish between pizzicato or spiccato or tremolo textures, which also they convey different tones. So these types of refinements are where human expertise becomes incredibly valuable. And
So before we go into all the nitty-gritty of ways you can improve your specific metadata, I thought it was sort of worth mentioning, especially, and I work with I mentioned a variety of music libraries in the trailer space, the production music space. It's important to note that like the gold standard, and especially as a lot of new technologies come around, the gold standard in my mind is still text-based tags for search. There are a variety of emergent technologies like similarity search, a lot of very platform-specific search products that come along that are very interesting and useful, but they are not universally supported and not everywhere. Just for an example here, as I was researching this and looking into it, I just happened to type into Spotlight on my Mac, good times into Spotlight, just the most basic search imaginable. Obviously, not what music editors would be using for their searches, I would hope, but maybe, you never know. And it immediately surfaced a project I'd worked on a while ago and embedded tags to. And sure enough, Neon Sunset's full, and you can see the alt mixes there surfaced as well. For the search for good times, way deep in the metadata in the comment section, you can see embodying the essence of the 1980s, pulsing bass and energetic drum beats generate a lively, spirited mood, with keyboard arrangements entering the scene to emphasize the good times and fun felt throughout the synth pop track. That is rich metadata right there. And that is searchability at its core. Even if you're not searching in Finder and Marina, you can go to the next tab if you want,
sure.
or next slide. Um, those ID3 tags follow your music around everywhere. There are tons of online platforms here. I listed several I work with, but Harvest, Disco, SyncTake, SoundMouse, Source Audio, Chordal, ad infinitum. There'll always be a new one. If there's a new one tomorrow, that means I have a lot more work on my plate because I need to start delivering to more platforms for the companies I work for. But all of those platforms take tags. All those platforms uh, often ingest the ID3 tags directly when you upload your catalog, even if they have custom metadata stuff, even if they have additional search things baked into the platform. Um, those ID3 tags follow your music around everywhere. And so to this date, I mean, there's always going to be people saying, here's the new search paradigm. Here's how we're going to get everyone to search the same way and such a smarter, faster way. We love technology here. Like we're a technology first company and we love seeing what people are doing. Search tags remain just like the gold standard and are essential as anything else for your catalog to make sure you're searchable. Same with offline platforms, Avid, SoundMiner, proprietary systems. Um, Search tags and quality search tags embedded to your music will never go out of style, despite new trends and stuff like that. And you can go to the next tab, Marina, or next slide. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, music editors are jumping platforms all the time. Disco, I remember when Disco was first coming up, and that was the big one we were all getting on. Chordal is the next one that I've seen a lot of hype around lately. And they're all great, and it's all cool seeing new influx of ideas into how search should happen. It's all very useful information and a lot of new paradigms for how to do it. But you still never know when someone's going to get laid off from one company or a music editor you have a relationship goes from one place to another. You want those tags and your searchability to stay with your music wherever it goes, which is why, we still feel like we're very relevant in this space as a tagging company. Um, your tag should be accurate, should be very specific to your catalog. This has been our beat for a while, but it bears repeating. These tags should be relevant for the types of searches you want. So your style tags, in particular, your industry usage tags, relevant to how things could be used in trailers, and you want them cross-platform, which is, to this day, embedding directly to the files is, and yeah, specific search tags that are embedded to the files will do a world of good for you. And go ahead, Marina. I think that's all I had to say there.
Great. So I'm going to deep dive more into AI tagging models and what they typically rely on. So we're talking about some of the attributes, features, what makes AI tagging models what they are. So we're looking at acoustic features, structural patterns, training data patterns, and statistical associations. So with acoustic features, these are like the raw properties that are extended directly from the audio signal. And this means AI is very reliable at detecting tempo, energy level, and broad tonal color. But because it's reading signal data rather than music meaning, it may not distinguish between a sparse piano piece that feels peaceful and maybe one that feels more melancholy or maybe even evokes a sense of longing, even though they both may have identical acoustic profiles. For structural patterns, AI models are trained to recognize repeating and contrasting sections in audio. It can identify where a track builds, drops, resolves, or loops. The model knows where something changes, but not why it matters emotionally. So, for example, a swelling string section may happen maybe 3 minutes into a track, and it will look the same to a model whether the track evokes a feeling of triumph or a feeling of heartbreak. Training data patterns. Every AI tagging model is shaped by the data set it was trained on. So if the data set is heavily weighted towards commercial or mainstream genres, the model will probably perform well on pop or rock or even some orchestral styles of tracks. But it might struggle with regional styles, hybrid genres, or maybe new sounds or trends that weren't well represented in the training. The model isn't wrong, but it could be limited by what it's been exposed to. And this is which is exactly where the human tagging with genre, human taggers with genre expertise can fill in this gap. Statistical associations. AI operates on learned correlations, patterns that appear together frequently enough in training data to become linked. So, for example, a track that has a minor key plus a slow tempo often has a co-occurring mood like melancholy. So the model applies that tag confidently. But the problem arises with tracks that defy expectation. So a track that is fast tempoed in a minor key could actually have a celebratory mood in a particular cultural event or a cultural context. The model may not have a framework for cultural nuances or subversions. It matches patterns, but it does not interpret intent. So, some solutions, a hybrid AI with human input. This is exactly where the hybrid workflow becomes essential. So AI gets you most of the way there, but closing the gap between technically correct tag and a genuinely useful one requires human judgment. So the first section, reviewing tags at the genre and mood level. For example, subgenre specificity and emotional nuance. You want to focus your human QC effort where AI is most likely to underperform. So look for ways to structure and add subgenres along with adding emotional nuance to your mood tags. You want to prioritize your human QC effort around the genres and moods that drive the most licensing activity in your catalog, and then work outward from there. So when you do QC your library, look for mood tags that maybe appear too frequently or too broadly across the catalog. Also look for certain terms that have become a catch-all tag rather than it being a useful descriptor. For alt mixes and stem consistencies and strategies, I would focus on your instrument accuracy and texture and mood accuracy. One of the most overlooked areas in the human QC is ensuring that alt mixes and stems of the same track carry consistent and appropriately adjusted metadata. The more efficient way to address this is to build a parent-child metadata structure into your QC. Every stem and alt mix version starts with the approved metadata from its parent track as a baseline, parent track or full mix. So core tags like genres, mood, and style should carry over automatically, keeping the family of tracks grouped together. A human tagger edits specifically for what the differences are between your stems and your alt mixes, and changing the differences in maybe an instrumentation and energy level and texture and all of that. So we'll move on to how we refine our mood tags and all the other category tags from here. So AI tags may miss the mark when telling the why for a mood. The intent may not be captured with a limited amount of mood tags. Deeper analysis and focused mood tags can enhance discoverability. So when AI applies a tag, let's say like sad or reflective, emotive, it's making a broad acoustic judgment. So I call that static. A mood tag describes what the music sounds like in isolation. An intent tag, which is more descriptive, describes what the music does in context. So for example, reflective is a static mood and reminiscence is an intent. Sad is static and longing is an intent. So the more your taxonomy moves toward intent-based language, the more useful it becomes for the people actually searching. The goal isn't to replace broad mood tags. They still serve a purpose for a first filter. The goal is to build a second layer like that of a mood hierarchy. So a top level category like sad that branches into more specific intent tags like bittersweet or longing or depressed. And same tag refinements I'm going to discuss with the other categories, similar like search, usage tags, instrument tagging, and genre accuracy. So for usage tags, specific scene descriptors provide stronger search results than general usage categories. So for example, a tag like sports tells a searcher or music supervisor almost nothing. A tag like stadium anthem or game day crowd or extreme sports tells them exactly what they're looking for. So the closer your usage tags are to the actual language a supervisor types into a search bar, the more likely your tracks are going to surface to the right moment. This means moving away from category labels and toward more detailed situational descriptors. So AI taxonomies tend to have less style tags than a robust taxonomy similar to that of TagTeams. AI usage tags may lack nuance and intent. So the most practical way to refine your usage taxonomy is to work backwards from how your clients search. Look at your most common licensing categories. Talk to the supervisors and editors who use your library and build your usage tag vocabulary around the language that they use. That might mean adding a granular subcategory level or adding scene-specific descriptors or getting rid of vague tags that aren't really driving search results. Instrument tagging. So why instrumentation tagging matters more than people think is that instrument tagging is often treated as a secondary metadata concern. It's something you fill in after the more important mood and genre tags are done. But for significant portion of sync searches, instrumentation is the primary filter. So instrument connections to genre. One of the most underutilized aspects of instrument tagging is its connection to genre. Certain instruments have strong genre signals. Like, for example, a mandolin may point out to folk or Americana genre, or an 808 bass may point towards trap or hip hop. So when instrument tags are applied with the genre connection in mind, they improve instrumentation searches and they reinforce genre accuracy at the same time. Human taggers who understand these connections can use instrumentation as a cross-check on genre tagging and catch misclassifications that AI might have missed. For featured instrumentation, beyond cataloging every instrumental present in a track, it's worth building a featured instrumentation layer that flags the instruments that are dominant or distinctive. So, like a track may contain a full orchestra, but if a solo violin melody is the defining characteristic, that needs to be surfaced as a featured instrument tag. So this is the nuance that AI can't reliably make because it requires a judgment about what is perceptually foregrounded in the mix, not just what frequencies are present in the signal. So moving on to genre accuracy, you've got genre and subgenre hierarchies. And so the real search value lives on one level deep in the subgenre. And then, for example, a supervisor looking for music for a skateboarding brand isn't searching for rock. They will probably be searching more for punk or skate rock or alternative. Building a clear genre and subgenre hierarchy gives supervisors a faster, more precise path to the right track. And genre and usage connection. So when I say usage, sometimes usage is synonymous to styles tags. So there are the music for tags. Genre and usage are closely related, but they're distinct, and treating them as interchangeable can cause some tagging confusion. Maintaining a clear separation between genre and usage tags and ensuring both layers are applied consistently gives your catalog a much richer and more navigable structure. And then moving on to new and hybrid genres, which we discussed a little bit under Sylvia. This is one of the most significant challenges, both for AI and for human tagging. It's only going to become more of an issue as production music continues to evolve. So hybrid genres like orchestral hybrid or cinematic trap may not fit nearly into a traditional taxonomy, and AI models trained on conventional genre categories can possibly oversimplify them. Human taggers who actively engage with music trends are essential for keeping your genre taxonomy current. Genre accuracy isn't a one-time fix. It should be treated as an ongoing maintenance. So as your catalog grows and as music trends evolve, your genre taxonomy needs to grow and evolve with it. So the libraries that will have a competitive advantage in search and licensing are the ones that treat their genre structure as a living document, regularly audited them, updated to reflect new sounds and hybrid categories.
Okay. Yeah, should I
So
hop in, Maria?
yeah, so just I was just going to just say just a few things. So this is kind of where we transition to how we clean and refine our AI tags with our platform Tune Tagger, and I'm going to hand it over to Sylvia, who actually developed the platform and has a little more of a deeper level understanding of how it works.
Totally. Yeah, so as we mentioned before, like the fear with AI technologies is that they're going to replace everything, or the temptation with AI technologies as well is to use them for everything and have them replace the human insight. And as we know, that causes a lot of problems and also, more importantly, gets you out of the habit of being in touch with your data. The real problem and the real sticky part in the phase 3 of our adoption cycle is how do we integrate them in a way where we're still in control and still have power over them? And that's where, being that we were hit by this technology a good 6 years ago as tag team analysis, we had the same sort of scare cycle of, oh my God, this is eating our lunch. Oh my God, this technology is going to destroy everything we did. How are we going to survive? How are we going to hold up with this technology that does this certain level at a very cost-effective, cheap, infinitely scalable way? How do you compete with that? The answer is you differentiate yourself. You take advantage of the fact that we have skills that the machines don't have, even if they're training really fast, even if they have the power to be trained and run infinitely. Like there still is an edge to having a human in the loop, which is the common phrase for this kind of stuff. But also, it takes a lot of time and careful thought to differentiate like what in your industry or your particular corner of what you're doing is can be augmented by human input and instead make your life easier. And so the Tune Tagger platform is one Marina and I have been using for upwards of 10 years. It started a long time ago as an Excel macro-enabled spreadsheet that I built for Marina that we would click around to just be able to add tags. Over time, we added various tag recommendation algorithms, starting with some presets, then moving on to co-occurrence models that we modeled. So this was all pre-machine learning, pre-AI. Um, we eventually also started training our own ML models, and we also included and are working on integrations with some of the latest ML models from leading companies. You can bring your own tags to the platform, and the idea every step of the way has been how do we free up the mental space to differentiate what's important? If a rock track comes in and you know it's going to have an electric guitar, either have it pre-populate with electric guitar, which is how we used to do it before, or in the age of ML and AI, if we can have the AI listen to the track and say, yeah, there's probably an electric guitar there, that's great. That saves time. That makes more room for the human to listen and do the human thing of understanding what's important about the track. Maybe it does have electric guitar, but that's way less important than the gigantic sax solo from minute 2 to 3 that dominates the song. Like that is the part where a human can differentiate, like, no, this is the defining characteristic. Um, I'm going to share, I believe. Yeah, we're going to go full on to the demo. About the platform that we've spent a lot of time refining. A lot of this predates AI, some of the quality of life features we've built just from tagging hundreds of thousands of tracks humanly, but also has come to include, and I'm going to share a variety of features which make it very fast and easy to do everything Marina just went through, which I know is a lot of detail and nitty gritty, but stuff like expanded taxonomy. So here's, for example, a Tune Tagger project I made with some sample tracks. Um, Very quickly, you can see we've brought in some off-the-shelf AI tags from one of the leading AI machine learning tagging companies. We've imported those via CSV. We also went ahead, as Marina mentioned. We have full mixes and alt mixes in here, a very common configuration. And we went ahead and just on the CSV, without having to go through anything, we've copy pasted suitably. It's cut and paste is the name of the track, but copy pasted the main track metadata to all the alts because for example, if a machine learning algorithm was listening to the song and went to the no drums version, there's a good chance it might think it's a completely different genre. I think it's or for example here, it could also come up with inaccurate instruments or inaccurate styles that don't match. So point being, at a glance as well, you can see we have a taxonomy that's matches the AI taxonomy here. So for example, the instruments that come directly from the AI are pretty limited. Mallets, only 2 instruments. Bass, you've got bass or double bass. Take your pick. Pick your poison there. We all know there's a lot more instrument tags that people would be searching for, like 808 bass. So we, for example, our taxonomy, we've been working with it for over a decade, a lot richer here. And if we want to search for 808 bass, for example, we can do that there. I'm not going to play the player here because I to this day do not know how to get Zoom to get the audio to pipe properly from my computer when I'm demoing things. But you can listen to the track directly, listen, skip around, make the edits you need. Let's say we want to add a couple more styles. Um, like this is still the AI taxonomy, so if horror is the most refined the AI can go, we want to add in, let's see, what other horror styles do we have? Chaos, evil, fear, horror, panic, suspense, a lot richer data sets. This is all editable as well. The AI will only ever spit out what the AI has been trained to do, which is why it's extra important to have specific tags. Before I get too much farther too, I want to mention Marina said something really important, which is the relationship with your music editors or supervisors is hugely important. And we know that just because we have clients who will tell us to add tags to our taxonomy as we're even before the AI and the just pure human tagging days of us. It was hugely important for us to be able to update our taxonomy and add stuff like hitty was something supervisors were searching for a lot. Or if a new genre pops up, a new trend pops up, you need those kind of relationships and that relationship with your metadata to be able to add that stuff in. I think there's, like I said, a very easy temptation to want to set it and forget it, to not even want to get into the nitty-gritty of the metadata because it's so overwhelming. Building that relationship with your metadata, like it translates to money. It translates to your music being found. Most importantly, it differentiates your catalog in a very important way. Um, so anyway, yeah, these are still all AI tags. We also have a deeper editor in here as well for if you want to do sentence descriptions. We have a sentence description generator. We have a editor for keys, BPMs, a variety of other more in-depth stuff. But strictly for editing AI tags, we built this view here. Also, so let's go down to our drum and bass thing. If we want to copy from previous, now that that's completed, we can do a quick copy in, which brings in, shows that these have been copied from the main track, which makes editing alts and stems and stuff like that where you want maybe all the rest of the metadata to match because an AI tagging a drum and bass, a simply drum and bass version or alt mix of the main track probably would get a lot of that stuff wrong. You want most of it to match because you want it to show up in similar searches alongside. But in this case, we can get rid of synth because that would not be relevant. And it's a very fast platform. It's something we've spent a lot of time refining. And I guess goes to say that like for a point in time many years ago, we were like, oh my gosh, the AI is coming. It's going to completely replace us. There's going to be no point for humans anymore. Yada yada yada. I'm hoping the parallel matches for everyone listening on this call right now. Of like we've been through this cycle before, and it's very clear that if you ignore the strengths of it, I mean, we've been able to, I think, 5x our output of tracks. Marina, you can tell me how much faster it is to tag with if you're merely QCing tags and looking for the specifics of what's wrong about them and what to add, what's missing, versus what's starting from scratch and having to tag everything yourself. Um, it's
Yeah.
faster, it's more effective, it frees up your brain for what's actually important, and actually makes room for the human part instead of the
Right.
repetitive part.
Yeah, I
Um,
think the also the benefits is that you have access and you have you're able to visualize all of the AI tags that have been tagged on your track, but you also have the flexibility to add, if you have your own taxonomy of tags that you want to add in there, you can bake those in. You can remove certain things. You can preview the track. You can copy paste from one track to another, all on one page. And I think that that is what's beneficial and which makes things go much quicker um, to get from one track to another.
Right. So, like I said, there's a lot more deeper features we have built into the platform, which have we've been carrying around for upwards of 10 years based on the variety of different use cases. But this is a new use case where a lot of people have their own AI tags. Maybe they have a subscription to Ames or something like that, and they like how quick and fast it is to edit the AI tags, but they know they're not good enough, or they know they're missing out on searches or real like differentiation in their catalog. It's a lot faster to be able to add them to TuneTagger directly, go through some quick QC, spend an afternoon going through a bunch of tracks, copy pasting, and I'll stop sharing for now. But that's about our take of it. Phase three of integrating the technology with the human part of it, making it fast, effective, making our life easier, um, as opposed to, yeah, uh, calling it one and done.
Yeah. So I want to just throw out some call to actions. We are wanting to provide a complimentary audit for the first five libraries who reach out before the end of the week. And we'll provide a written library health report covering your taxonomy, consistencies, genre, usage coverage, as well as mood and instrument accuracy and their depth. So there's some client sign up links on the chat if you want to sign up for that. Also, if you want to sign up for a Tune Tagger demo session, we have a few clients that are already subscribers and are using it with their in-house with their workflow, and they seem to really like this. And like I said, we actually spent a lot of time updating and making the platform a lot more intuitive and easier to get through. And if you are someone that is using baseline AI tags and you do want to enrich your metadata, this may be a good platform to do this or have us do it for you. Either way. And yeah, so I believe we are finished with our um, presentation, and I believe we can open it up for questions. And again, thank you so much for being here. Really, really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
very much
Oh,
appreciate
thank
it.
you, Marina and Sylvia. This has been a pleasure and very informative. So yeah, don't be shy if you guys, oh, there's a question. Do you have a pricing tab?
We do have a pricing list on our website. And that's mainly for the full tagging, and it's all based on volume. But with if it's AI generated, if it's we're working with AI tags and we're doing like just basic additional tagging, we'll have a different pricing guide there, and we haven't set it up yet, but we will put it on the website and we'll let you know
I
what
should
that.
mention as well, right now we don't include AI tags. We've been experimenting with some training with some of our own models, but by and large, the way we've been doing it with certain clients is if they're working with Ames or Cyanite or some of these other providers that give you AI tags, you can bring your own and import them and edit yourself, which is actually has helped us sort of specialize on the important part for us, which has always been the listening and the editing, as opposed to the AI technology itself.
Great. I had a question related to, you may have already answered it. Who are the big leaders in AI tagging? And you already mentioned some of your differentiators. I was particularly interested that we can bring in our own tags um, and start doing our own machine learning to help our process. So if AI is getting us, I don't know, the first pass, um, it can get closer and closer and and taking some of the load on. Obviously, we're never ever going to not keep eyeballs on the on tagging human eyeballs. But I think that this could be a very powerful time saver.
It is a time saver, and we're happy to tell you as long as you promise, promise, promise to keep a human in the loop. We're the human metadata people. So,
Absolutely. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I am so so
absolutely. No, no.
pro-human.
We can
I
all
mean,
see.
especially with music.
We can all see how easy it is when we're all tired and busy. And like, we're anyway. I will say we're
Mhm.
happy to shout out our guy Einar at Ames. He's a wonderful guy. We've been low key working on an integration with Ames directly. It's not ready yet, but it's something we've
Mhm.
been toying around with them because we have a great relationship with Ames. They're wonderful people. Their tags are a great starting point, but as mentioned, humans get you the extra 20% from 80%, and like, and we would argue is essential. If you look through the tags that get shot back,
Critical.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But Ames is a great place to start.
Thank you.
Emlyn, do you want to unmute?
Oh yeah, sure. Hey, I'm totally into all this. I come from a dev background, and so this is all very fascinating to me, paired with my music. I'm curious how and whether this is being also this technology is being used for people searching for cues. And what I mean by that is, while we can intelligently tag tracks on our end, there must surely be a work-in that allows you to search for those and then resurface those more intelligently than just simply entering, for example, good times, right?
Right.
And I would assume, of course, that most searches are much more comprehensive than that. But I'm just curious if there's any thought also on the reverse here.
Yeah, so there, and that's something that absolutely has been experimented with, and is highly platform specific, I would say. So similarity search was one of the first versions of that we saw emerge, which eventually they added to, I think, powered by Cyanite, uh, or some started to emerge on a lot of the big platforms like Source and Harvest as like a built-in feature. And to be honest, a big reason why they pushed for that feature as a new paradigm for AI search outside of tags entirely is because they knew the tags weren't perfectly accurate. They knew that if you looked at the tags and saw the tags, you'd be like, wait, that's not right. To humans used to. So, there have been certain workarounds on the, like you said, on the opposite side, on strictly from the search side to bypass tags entirely. They can be very interesting. The problem is they are platform dependent. They're dependent on your subscription to a technology. And like we've seen, we've had music editors move companies or switch platforms or have things change. And that's why we still feel like tags are the gold standard and are worth investing in because they will follow around your music till the end of the earth or until the end of a spotlight, at least. There's probably more out there, but that's what I'd say to that, Emlyn.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
I want to answer Jane's question of are tags draggable to prioritize them? So we've done that before in previous versions of TuneTagger for subgenres specifically, because especially as people are looking at tag tracks, the first subgenre is the one that comes to usually define it. We even had it so previous versions of our recommendation algorithm uh, were highly dependent on the order that tracks were tagged in, the order that the tags appeared. In this case, right now, we haven't implemented that yet, but uh, just because largely we find people aren't looking at the tags as much, they're still searching for them. And a lot of times the search algorithms do not prioritize the order they're in. When I typed in good times there, it just found good times deep within the metadata of the track. But uh, we have the ability to, but we've so far haven't bothered to re-implement it in this new version of TuneTagger just because, yeah, it's been more important to just be able to have all the tags there. But that's a great question.
There are some formats that I've come across that literally like maybe the first 5 tags are all caps. Um, but it's also a formatting thing. So it's a CSV formatting thing that we also implement into the platform.
Yes, another one of
Thanks
the.
for that. It looked to me like, as someone just looking at that, there might be some sort of psychological advantage or benefit to seeing what's first. But I understand your point. If someone's just searching for something, it shows up wherever it does. Maybe that's a moot point at this point.
No, absolutely.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? We're coming close to the hour.
You find you have a question later, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And like I said, it would be nice to see how everyone's doing with their libraries. If you're interested in having us give a report on what we see in your files and see what what we hear in your audio and what we see on your metadata.
Yeah.
I want to thank you very much for a really informative and well presented session. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Lisa and Angela, for
Yeah,
putting this all together. This has been wonderful.
we
No,
really
we
appreciate,
appreciate it.
having us on board with you guys.
Likewise. Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
cool, cool. All right. Well, maybe we'll see you guys at the conference in October.
Yes, yes, yes. If you liked this, hopefully we will see you in October for more discussions. And then we also, if you are a member of the PMA, we do have our next coffee hour coming up June 16th. So hopefully Angela and I will also see you there too.
Yay.
Thank you
Thank you,
all.
everyone.
Bye, guys. Have a great week.